Excuse me. Hey guys, what's up? I'm here with a review of a supernatural horror film from 1983 from the director of Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, which I reviewed on my channel, and I said it was a pretty fun movie. And tonight's movie is Scalps. Now, from what I've heard and what I can assume by reading the plot and a few reviews and stuff, basically this movie is a combination of two movies. It's a combination of Evil Dead and Pet Sematary. Now, you guys know how much I love Evil Dead. Evil Dead is one of my favorite horror films of all time. I don't think I've ever talked about Pet Sematary, so I will quickly talk about it. Pet Sematary is probably one of my favorite Stephen King adaptations. It's third to Carrie, the first being The Shining. Really, it's just a really good movie. So tonight's movie has to do with a bunch of teenagers, it even says this on IMDb, a group of silly teenagers going off to a Indian burial ground, Native American burial ground, excuse me, and in order to dig up bones and artifacts and stuff. And from what I can tell from the trailer, there's like one chick who's basically supposed to be Cheryl from The Evil Dead, and she's just constantly like warning people like, we shouldn't be here, we should leave. And one of them ends up getting possessed by a Native American warrior, and he starts to murder and scalp everybody. That's what I've gotten from reading the plot descriptions and watching the trailer. I don't know much else about this movie other than the fact that it has an average rating of like 3 out of 10 on IMDb, so this could either end really badly or really good. I don't know. I mean, I've seen movies that have like that low of ratings, and I've thought they were really underrated. The Worm Eaters, The Incredible Melting Man. This one isn't at a 3, but the Refrigerator, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers. There are a lot of movies that are considered to be very bad that I really like. So let's hope this is one of them. So the movie opens with credits and an extremely cheesy death of one of our characters. Then we have some random redneck kind of driving down the road, listening to, well, not listening to any music actually. He's driving and he's drinking and driving. And this music, this really kind of cheap, stock, kind of somewhat creepy stock music plays in the background. As he's in this semi kind of desert area. And it's still completely silent other than the music. Finally, he gets to where he is going, and he just suddenly dies. Like, he literally just, suddenly he's bleeding and he's dead. You don't see what happens. There's no noticeable cut. He's just got blood on him. Then we meet an archaeologist who is a teacher at like a college, and he's gonna take his students on an expedition to a place that's illegal to dig in. And you know, he's like, "Oh no, we're not illegally digging there. We're looking for rock samples." And yeah, so he can't go because he has some work to finish up. And these college students, they all have to go to this remote area in the middle of nowhere all by themselves. So our group of idiots go out on a trip to the middle of nowhere, and we have the horny guys, the scared girls, and the one extremely paranoid one who is constantly whining and saying that they shouldn't be there doing stuff. Also, the car breaks down on the way there, and they have to stop because of the aforementioned car breakdown. And And then they kind of like, and they talk about how they shouldn't, you know, they finally, they kind of fix the car, they take it to a mechanic in town, in the nearest small town, and they stop at this like general store, and they see that this general store is selling arrowheads, and one of the guys is like, hey, we shouldn't go up there and dig, we should just buy a bunch of arrowheads and like cover them in dirt and stuff and say we found them. Now I'm gonna be honest, that's probably something I would do, especially if it was some kind of horror movie situation like this. So this local Native American guy tries to tell them some backstory to why they shouldn't go up into the mountains and dig, and the problem is the music is so loud and obnoxious that it really ruins the kind of somewhat creepy tone this backstory was giving, and you could barely hear what people are saying most of the time because it's this music playing really loud in the background. You know, it's either music playing really loud, or it's like or it's something really loud in the background, like a plane flying by or something. But basically, they finally get to the like campsite thing where they're gonna be, the dig site, and they find the redneck's abandoned truck, and you see that this like kind of Native American ghost zombie guy, who is basically our main antagonist, I think his name was Black Crow or something like that, he's like watching them, and at first I thought, like, isn't this film supposed to be about someone who gets possessed by his spirit? Because why is he out there watching them? Because it seems like, to me, they're not giving any hint at the fact that he might be a ghost. They're just kind of showing him, and he looks more like a zombie than a ghost. But anyway, Scalps is one of those bad, like, B-movies that could have been a really, really, really fun, cheesy, like, maybe even, like, a Trauma-esque or, Ted V. Michaels kind of bad movie. It could have been one of those fun bad movies. But there's a couple things that really just ruin that thing. That one thing, which I will touch on those in a minute. But first, the acting is really pitiful. It's pretty bad and funny. Same with the writing. The writing's pretty disjointed and random. The editing is also pretty bad. The camera work is actually pretty good at times. Basically, my two big gripes with this film are the lighting and the music. The lighting is because it does that thing that I've mentioned multiple times when talking about other independent films, especially older, like, B-movies. It does that thing where they want to shoot a scene at night, and instead of getting, you know, proper lights or anything, I mean, I guess they couldn't afford them, and I can give them a break if they couldn't afford them, but if this movie has, like, if a movie has really bad lighting for scenes at night, and they have some of the, like, best, most elaborate gore effects I've ever seen for a, like, 80s low-budget B-movie, I'm going to assume that they spent most of the budget on the gore effects, which means they could have done better. This one, it could be either way. They could have not been able to afford the lights or whatever, but there are scenes when it's dark out, and instead of just, like, filming these scenes at, like, dusk or somewhat at sunrise, you know, just right when there's still a little bit of light, they feel the need to film this scene at the dead of night with no lights, with, like, maybe one light, and it just doesn't look good, and you can barely tell what's going on. And then it also does that other thing where this probably isn't a thing with the lighting, but the film looks a bit oversaturated. You know, it's a bit too bright, and it hurts my eyes. It hurts. I mean, it hurts most people's eyes. The music. The music, oh gosh, oh my fucking god, the music. The music in this film is mostly kind of somewhat creepy stock music, and it plays at the most inappropriate of times. Like, I mean, sure, I've seen movies where, like, happy music will play during a scene where a woman's being like chased by a group of like serial killers or a group of rapists. And I mean, yeah, that's really an appropriate place to put that music. But this one is like inappropriate in the sense that they put the really creepy music in the scene, in like a couple of scenes that aren't creepy at all. They put the really creepy music in the scene where their car breaks down, and they're literally just standing there talking. Nothing's happening, nothing creepy or eerie is happening, and this music is still playing. There's music playing for about, I want to say maybe 85% of this movie. And this problem could have been solved with the really loud music. It could have been solved just by looping the dialogue back in to on top of the music to make it, you know, sound better. But they decided against that, or they didn't know how to do it. But it could have been a lot better. Let's see. Really, I'm being a little bit harsh on this movie, I'll be honest. It's not as bad as I was expecting. I was expecting like Mardi Gras Massacre, or I was expecting like Mardi Gras Massacre levels of bad, or Blood Cult levels of bad. This isn't. This is not Blood Cult or Mardi Gras Massacre. It's still very original, very interesting movie. It's kind of, it's not really a zombie film, although I would put it under this, I would like kind of slightly put it under that subgenre. It's kind of a supernatural like slasher film, with maybe a little bit of the zombie genre or like demonic possession kind of genre thrown in. It's really hard to explain. It's a very original take on the slasher film genre, I'll give it that much. I'll definitely say I've never seen another slasher film like this as far as my memory serves. I may have seen another one similar to this. But this one's still pretty, you know, cool. Let's see, the gore effects in the film are pretty decent at times. Sometimes they're a bit laughable. You can tell that's where the budget in this film went. The characters are really flat and lifeless, but at least only one of them is annoying. The film does get slow. The film does get a bit slow at times, which is, I mean, that might be a little bit hard to imagine for a like 80s B-movie slasher film, but yeah, it does get a little bit boring at times. So it does, and it does have a bit of a pacing problem as well. On the gore meter from 1 to 10, 1 being something like The Corpse Grinders and 10 being something like Brain Dead, Scalps is probably a 4. It's really bloody. You know, it's not like as bad as like, I want to say Pieces or Mardi Gras Massacre or Blood Cult. It's not as bad as those when it comes to the violence. Really, Scalps is a cool take on the slasher genre. I'd say check it out. I mean, it is definitely worth watching. It's only like 80 or so minutes long. You know, it's not a super long movie. And I mean, if you waste your time on it, it's an hour, and it's like an hour and 20 minutes. It's not that bad if you waste an hour and 20 minutes on a bad movie, unless it's something like Slaughtered Vomit Dolls. Okay, so, and after the first 30 minutes of this movie, the music does become a little bit less annoying, and really, I can't say I loved this film, but I can't say I hated it either. I think it's pretty decent. 3 out of 5 stars for me, honestly. Anyway, guys, I'm BiscuitBoo69. The links to the Facebook page, Twitter, Tumblr, all that are in the description below, along with Rotten Cotton t-shirts, where I buy most of my horror film t-shirts. I'm BiscuitBoo69, signing off. Peace.